Alright guys, it's Angelo Christian over here with another great edition of Real Estate Insider. Thank you so much for checking us out. Today we are talking with Mr. Zachary Sharp with Goosehead Insurance. Thank you so much for coming into the studio today. He's actually going to be educating us on why to use Goosehead Insurance, whether you're trying to get insurance for your car, get insurance for your house, and explain some of the benefits and also the process of actually how to get insurance. So obviously you are in the insurance industry, and we work directly with you. They're actually our preferred partner. We highly recommend going with Goosehead Insurance. In fact, if you're buying a home through us, you're probably using them to get your insurance, and if you're not, you're probably missing out on saving at least 10 to 15% on your homeowners or auto insurance policy. But today we actually want to learn from him. Why use Goosehead? Who are they? Some of the benefits, and I know you have a very special policy you actually want to talk about that I have personally, and why people should actually consider that policy. So yeah, if you don't mind, just give us a little bit of background and explain everything.
Absolutely. So I think the big reason why we have clients that choose Goosehead over anybody else is really the world-class customer service that we provide.
Okay.
We're focused and really client-obsessed with everything that we do, the decisions that we make. So not only do we have this obsession for our clients and making sure that they're happy and they're taken care of, we've also split up the roles when it comes to selling insurance and servicing clients. And so my role in Goosehead is handling the sales side and making sure that clients are properly covered and are saving money whenever they're shopping for their insurance.
Okay.
And then I have an entire team that's dedicated to the back office that's going to handle anything else available from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time.
Okay.
And so that's going to be kind of the big draw for us is service.
Well, okay, now, I mean, what you're saying sounds great, but how does that translate to the customer? I mean, you're saying customer obsessed, everybody says that, so how does that, give me an example of customer obsession.
Well, the biggest, I think, example of customer obsession is for us to make sure that whenever we're talking with the client, the communication is very strong. We're also making sure that they're not only shopping with one carrier, they're going out and finding the prices on all the carriers, shopping all the carriers at the same time.
You guys are doing that on behalf of the customer.
Behalf of the customer.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. So let's say that I have a $300,000 home in Houston, and I call you and I say, I want homeowners insurance. So what's the back office or what's the back end look like on that?
So the back end looks for me like going through a comparative rating system,
risk.
Right?
Yes.
And so we're assessing risk, right? And going through this rating system to find out which carrier is going to come back with the best price. And so that rating system allows me to go through and shop all the carriers at the same time and find out which carrier is going to be the best for that client. Because every carrier's appetite's different. They're not going to be the same. Not every policy is going to be the same. And so the comparative rating system allows us to do that for clients so they don't have to go and shop on their own.
Okay, so let's say that it comes back and you find, 5 different carriers for that customer, and then do you pick out the lowest rate for the customer, or how does that work?
Well, there's actually 2 things that I do. I look for the lowest rate first, because that's going to tell me an idea of which carrier is going to be really the best for that risk, have the biggest appetite for that risk. And then what I actually go in and do is customize that quote for the client. And so there's a lot of coverages that aren't coming standard on your homeowner's policy. A lot of those being some of the water coverages here in Texas. And so I actually go in and customize that quote for the client so that when I present it to them, it may not be the lowest price, but it's going to be the best coverage for the lowest price.
Okay, so meaning that based on what the customer is trying to do, it's going to be the most sensible, the optimal. It may not be the cheapest,
right?
Because the cheapest isn't always the best.
Right, you're sacrificing coverage in most cases whenever you're going for the cheapest. Because we can always find the cheapest rate. That's not a problem. I can beat any rate, but the coverage is what is most important.
And does that carrier actually pay out? Is
that an A-rated carrier? Are they financially stable? And we only work with A-rated financially stable carriers. So we're not going to place a client with a carrier that will not pay out on claims. That doesn't have
that's another thing I see that, okay, let's say someone is a cheap rate, but if they're not paying out on claims, then what good is it, right?
Right. I'm not going to give specific examples, but there are a lot of insurance carriers coming into the market, a lot more regional carriers, especially in the Houston market, that are maybe a lot cheaper, but when it comes to paying out claims, when it comes to coverages, it's just really not there.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, as far as let's say that somebody had, if someone had multiple claims against them that they had to pay. Let's say that I, had a fire on a house and a claim was paid out. Does that mean I have to pay more for my insurance now?
So that doesn't necessarily mean that. The way that carriers are going to be rating, and obviously the actuaries with the carriers are going to be much better explaining this, but the carriers are looking at a bunch of different factors when they're raising rates. So a lot of times what will happen is it'll be a general rate increase for a specific area based on the total amount of losses in that area.
Like Houston with Hurricane Harvey.
Right, exactly. So Houston with Hurricane Harvey would be an example of carriers taking a much higher rate increase for specific zip codes because of losses in that area.
Okay, now what is the process like if somebody wants to get a quote from you, and what type of insurance do you provide?
So the process for getting a quote with us just basically comes in where we're gathering information from the client, making sure that we have the right information to provide an accurate quote for them. And then once we do, we go back to them with that information and explain them, educate them on what exactly is covered under the policy, what is not covered under the policy, because there are going to be plenty of things that are not covered under your homeowners and policy.
Gotcha.
And then work with the client to find out which coverages are most important, and then ultimately finalize and bind that policy so we can get them closed on their house.
But I mean, do they reach you online, or do they? How do they get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with us through email. You can actually reach out to us directly on our phone.
What is your email address?
So my email address is zach.sharp, so zach.sharp at goosehead.com, and that's goosehead.com.
Okay, and now what about if they want to apply online? Is there a website where they can go and apply online?
So they can go on to goosehead.com.
Okay.
And they can go to my my actual agency's site.
Okay.
Which is Sharp-Taylor on Goosehead's website.
Okay.
So they can go there and find us there. They can actually request a quote online as well.
Okay.
So they can go on there and request a quote. They can shoot us an email, give us a call.
Okay.
If they're obviously getting a loan through you guys, then we want to get in touch with them and share kind of the options that they have through us. So they can definitely find us a bunch of different ways.
Okay. And then how long does it take to get the quote back?
So it depends. I mean, it's very quick to go through the rating system and get an initial quote for the client within a few hours.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, so it can be very quick. But we have special circumstances where we're working with clients in those special circumstances. It could take a little bit longer to try and find the right policy and the right options for them to make sure they're going to close on their house on time.
Okay. And what type of insurance do you provide?
So we provide home, auto, life insurance, umbrella, commercial insurance, as well, toys. So if you have ATV, RV, motorcycle, anything like that, so we provide that type of insurance.
Okay. And what states do you cover, or are you nationwide, or how does that work?
Well, we're in expansion right now. So Goosehead is going to cover, as far as our main states, Texas and Florida, we've been in the longest. But our national expansion is into 18 states now and counting. And so we're in states like California, Texas, Florida, Virginia.
And we can provide a list too of the states. We can have that on here, a list of states that you provide. And are you guys, I mean, so you're saying it just takes usually a very fast time to respond. Are you guys available 5 days a week, or is it 7 days? How do I mean, if someone wants to get in touch with you, or
so if someone gets in touch with us, we're available anytime.
Okay, that's good. That's actually really good.
Yeah, we're available.
That's how my company is.
Exactly. So if somebody needs something, I've answered phone calls all the way to 10 p.m. At night on the weekends. So getting in touch with us is not going to be a problem.
That's actually a really important thing, because a lot of insurance companies I see, they close at 5. They're off on the weekend. And what I've seen is that what if you're in a car accident on Saturday and you need to call your guy? Is your service center, is it set up like that too with service? Or?
So service is set up differently. I provide the concierge service when it comes to my clients.
That's awesome.
But whenever we're talking about our service team, they are open from 7 a.m. To 9 p.m. Central Time.
Okay.
And so anytime that I'm not available during those times, our clients can go directly to our service line and get help from a live licensed agent right away. So they're not going to have to wait for me to be available, because I am, working with a lot of clients on the front end, making sure we're advising on coverages. So we do have that team there.
Okay, what's your number? Can we get his number posted? What's your number if they want to call you directly, what number can they call?
I'm actually going to get my cell phone now,
okay.
So if anybody wants to text me as
awesome.
well, shoot me a text.
Just like me.
Yeah, real easy to do it.
Thing, yeah.
Yeah, so shoot me a text, say, hey, we talked, and
that's good.
Phone number is 325-514-6771. So that's my cell. You can give me direct there. Shoot me a text. Shoot me a text on the weekend.
Guys, I'm gonna tell you, for an insurance guy, that's real strong. If you're looking to get insurance, like I have all my insurance, that I do personally is with the company, and they have great rates, great pricing. And if he's willing to take your call 7 days a week, most insurance companies won't do that. The big companies like State Farm and all those guys, they're not going to do that. They're out there playing golf on the weekend. And if you need somebody that is going to be there for you and give you that concierge service, I mean, that's phenomenal. So whether you're buying a house through us or you need car insurance, or like I said, he does life and umbrella. And actually, you were going to talk on umbrella, because that's actually really important. I want you to hit on that, because a lot of people don't know what umbrella insurance is, and especially if you carry a concealed handgun in your state. And I want you to kind of talk on that, because there's a lot of PR going around. If you have a concealed handgun license, and how to protect yourself with insurance in the event that something happens, because that actually happened to a friend of mine.
Right.
And he had umbrella insurance. So can you kind of talk on that?
No, absolutely, and I think it is incredibly important to understand that liability coverage is really why we have insurance. It's there to protect against the worst of the worst. And so when you have an umbrella policy in place, this can come and really help you out in many instances, not just in the instance of having a handgun, but something really even more common of a very responsible driver actually pulling out and accidentally hitting a motorcycle, and that person actually had 1.2 million in medical bills, and just a standard insurance policy with 30,000 in bodily injury and 60,000 per accident is not going to cover that. And
so what would happen in a case like that if someone had, 1.2 million?
Well, if they had what 7 out of 10 Americans have as far as coverage, which is the state minimum limits, then they're going to have a litigation suit that could come after all their assets to pay.
Wow.
And so I think it's incredibly important when you're buying a house. Really it's the largest asset that you're going to purchase for most people in their life. It's really important to protect that against the worst of the worst.
Right.
And so the umbrella policy is there to protect you in the event of something really bad that happens, and litigation comes down on you, and instead of them going after your assets, that umbrella policy is there to take care of it.
Protects you in the event. So let's say that, and I don't know if you guys have heard, like if you have a swimming pool, right?
Swimming pool's huge,
so
right?
Let's say that the neighbor kid sneaks over the fence and he drowns in the pool. What happens in a situation like that?
Yeah, that's huge. That's why, first of all, you want to have a fence around the pool.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Most carriers actually will not take a risk or a home that does not have a fence around their pool for that.
Well, let's say you do have the fence,
and they still get in.
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
then that's when that liability protection comes in, because if you have a standard homeowner's policy with $500,000 in liability coverage, that will actually come into play and actually take care of you in that instance.
Okay.
But if for some reason there was an accident that happened that cost more than $500,000 in damages, that's when you're actually going to be out of pocket or have a litigation suit on you. And so having $500,000 in liability for your house is important, but having that additional $1 million plus in coverage for liability with the umbrella will actually come into play in that instance as well.
Right. So, and this is where there was a big story on this, I think it was about 5 years ago. I think it was in Dallas, where it was a robber broke into a homeowner's house in the middle of the night, and so the guy, obviously shot him. He's a big handgun owner, and I love handguns and guns. I'm a gun collector, and I think a lot of Texans are. And so, but anyway, I guess what happened was that from him getting shot, he fell down the stairs and became paralyzed. And so the robber sued the homeowner and actually won in court for like $1 million settlement.
Yeah. Yep.
And he didn't have an umbrella policy, and I guess they put a judgment on his house, and they ended up foreclosing on this guy's home, and it was a big, huge thing. And so I was thinking, that is the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life, and that I mean, that jury told, but I mean, obviously it happened.
Right.
So would an umbrella policy protect that homeowner or us as homeowners in the event of something like that? I could see that happening where somebody breaks
Right.
into my house and I'm going to shoot them.
Right.
I'm not going to even think about it.
And that's the importance of having the proper coverage and working with a licensed agent to really go through and evaluate your risk. And in that instance, you know, an umbrella policy is going to step in and help out that homeowner. And so if you have the proper liability coverage, if you have the proper home insurance coverage, the proper auto coverage, you're protecting yourself and your assets from instances like this, wrecks, and other unforeseen things that could happen in your life,
Right.
and making sure those assets will stay with you to the end.
Right. So, and I mean, the umbrella policy is fairly reasonable too. It's not, I mean, tell people it's not expensive.
Oh gosh, no.
No.
It's a few dollars a month. I mean, we're
A
talking
few dollars a month, wow.
So we're talking like, you know, a younger, more responsible driver is going to be, you know, anywhere from $170 to $250
Per year.
Per year.
Yeah, per year,
And so
not per month.
the most that I've even really written for somebody was about $380 a year for an umbrella policy. That's for $1 million in coverage.
Yeah. So you're a big advocate of the umbrella policy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
If you're gonna spend your hard-earned money and resources on one of the biggest asset purchases of your life, you should make sure that you're properly covered.
Right. No, I agree with you. So now, is there, as far as any other key points that you wanted to hit on, or key takeaways for the audience that you want them to know about you or Goosehead?
Well, I mean, I think the main key takeaway, the main key point that I want people to know and understand is that I work for my clients instead of working for the carriers. And so I really feel like I have more of a personal relationship with the clients that I do work with, and I make sure to be always available for them. And so I do want to leave them with that no matter who they decide to go with for insurance, definitely make sure that they are a client advocate, and make sure that they're there to really get your best and have your best interest at heart. And so that is really my goal for all my clients, is to make sure that they are properly covered and they're not spending too much for their insurance.
So basically what that means is that when it comes down to it, whether it's based on your compensation or your client, you're going to choose what's best for your client.
Absolutely, every
Okay.
time.
And is that really how you think you're different than like all these other companies? Because you have State Farm, Farmers, you know, all these places. I mean,
Well, they're not bad companies. I mean, they're fantastic carriers. They have a good product.
but they're captive though, right?
But they're captive. So
Yeah.
what happens is that State Farm agent is going to probably have your best interest at heart, but they only have one product that they can offer you.
And you have the whole array.
And if you don't fit in within that bucket, then you're not going to have a good price on your insurance. You may have a great policy, but you may be paying double what you could pay with a carrier that has the same A+ rating, that pays out the same on claims, and just get a much better price.
So that's where I guess one of the things where I see where you are very different is that you're checking with all the options
Right.
to get the best deal, whereas like a State Farm, they're just checking that one thing.
They have one option.
One option.
And it's good for some people, but
Yeah.
I feel like we're in a world now where people are looking for choice.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that we kind of have harnessed the power of choice.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
For our clients.
No, I like that. So that's a huge takeaway for you guys. So that's a huge thing, guys. How they're different is they're going to shop your deal, and I mean, that doesn't mean you're pulling their credit report 10 times. Because I want people to understand that there's not multiple inquiries on their credit, right?
Well, there is one thing to know, and I make sure to tell all the clients that I work with this, is that the carriers are going to have to pull some type of soft inquiry on
Soft
credit.
inquiry, yeah.
Right. So they're going to have to do that in order to get an accurate quote.
Right, right.
But that's not going to be an inquiry that is going to affect
Right,
them
affect
getting
your
a
credit
loan.
score,
Right.
exactly.
It's not going to affect you getting a loan. So
Right.
everybody that's bought a house ever has to have, with a loan, has to have homeowners insurance, and that agent is going to have to quote it, and he's going to have to get their insurance over.
Right.
So yes, we do run, you know, with credit, but it is a soft inquiry, and it's not going to affect you getting approved for the house.
Right, right. Okay, and then that's a huge takeaway, guys, that compared to a regular insurance company, he's available 7 days a week. You work with him directly, and they will shop your deal to get you the best deal as opposed to just one option. And also, don't forget about the umbrella policy. If you want extra coverage, or you want to make sure that you don't get sued for some random act and that your home or your assets are threatened, get an umbrella policy. I have one. I highly recommend them. Mine is like 15 bucks a month, and it's very good if you have a family or you have a pool or you are a concealed handgun carrier. I highly recommend it. I'd also recommend Goosehead. It's my favorite insurance company, and all their contact information is below and on this stream. You can see it there, and you can reach them out to there's a link where you can apply for the insurance right there. What else? You gave your direct number.
Yeah, so you have my cell phone, so obviously you can reach
Okay.
out directly on my cell phone.
Okay, awesome.
And then, you know, with the information below, shoot me an email. If you have questions on anything, on our umbrella policy, on
Yeah,
any
please
type
make
of
sure we
stuff.
have his email in there and the website where they can go and apply. And Manny, I want to thank you so much for coming out today
Absolutely,
to come see us. Yeah,
definitely
and
appreciate you
guys,
having me.
check out Zach with Goosehead Insurance, the #1 insurance company in America, growing nationwide. They're in 18 states right now. The map is below if you want to see where they have coverage to get the best quote, the best deal, best service. Man, thank you so much. That's Zach with Goosehead Insurance. Guys, this is Angelo Christian with Real Estate Insider. Thank you for checking us out. We work very hard to bring you great companies like Goosehead Insurance and deliver wonderful content to you. Please, if you want to see anything else, leave your messages down below in the chat box. Do not forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And, you know, if anything else you want to see or any questions, reach out to me directly. You know, you can always call me. I'm always available directly. And thank you so much for following us. Have a great week, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.